Welcome to On the Record this morning. I'm Matt Sheehan. In today's segment, I'm joined by State Senator Stoller. Thanks so much for joining us this morning.
Morning, Matt.
All right.
Thanks for having me on today.
Yeah, I'm doing great. Thanks so much for joining us today. You recently spoke out against the Illinois State Board of Education's culturally responsive teaching. Why are you against the rule change?
Well, I'm concerned about it because I'm concerned about what the real intent is. Our current standards already require a classroom where individual differences are welcome and respected. And what I'm concerned about is that the true intent is that they want teachers to conform to a certain ideology or to think a certain way. And I don't think that's right. I think that that puts too much burden on the teachers to conform to a certain way of thinking. I don't believe that's right.
On January 28th, you had sent a letter to Governor Pritzker asking for him to answer for the state's slow COVID vaccine rollout. Did you ever get a response to that letter? And now that here we are nearly 2 weeks later, has anything changed?
Well, as of last Friday, the amount of vaccine that Illinois has received, we've only distributed 60%, less than 60% of that. And most states are over 80%. And so I'm very concerned about that because Governor Pritzker has elevated healthy people, healthy young people that are in their 20s, 30s, and 40s, even healthy prisoners ahead of those that are most at risk. And we know if we look at the data, those that are over 65 years old or those that have other health conditions or they live with somebody that does, we know from the data that those are the most at risk of a serious complication or even death from this COVID virus. And so I'm very concerned that he elevated those healthy people in line or ahead of those that are most at risk. And, Governor Pritzker has declared the state of emergency powers so that he could get things done. The whole idea of getting things done, declaring a state of emergency, is to get things done quicker. But instead, we hear from Governor Pritzker that, it's the federal government's problem or fault that we're behind, that we're ranked 47. But all 50 states have the same federal government, and we're ranked 47. So, I think he has some answering to do on that.
And I wanted to ask you about the lame duck session. I kind of saw a picture actually on your State Senator Facebook page where you were holding that stack of papers. It was early hours in the morning that you got this bill, House Bill 3653, if I'm not mistaken. Can you kind of talk about that and just your response to that?
Yeah, so I've talked to a lot of people that have lost or losing their faith and trust in Illinois government. Well, I went down to the lame duck session and I found out why. In the middle of the night, it was 3:05 a.m., we were given a 764-page bill, and I didn't know what was in the bill. We had less than an hour to read it before debate started, and at 4:48 a.m., we voted on this bill. I didn't know how much it cost. I didn't know exactly what was in it. I should have had the opportunity to read it and understand it and talk to those that it affected, talk to all the stakeholders, and understand what their thoughts were and hear from the public. But instead, we rushed through major reform legislation in the middle of the night during a lame duck session, and that is bad government. So what I'm doing about that is I'm introducing a bill this week that says any language that we're going to be voting on, the final language has to be put out publicly 2 weeks before we vote on it. Because you can call me crazy, but I think it's important that we understand what we're actually going to be voting on. And I need to hear from people. We need to have some debate, and we need to hear from the public. And in that case, on the criminal justice bill, at 3 o'clock in the morning, I would have liked to call the sheriffs and other people who were affected by it and hear what their thoughts were. But they were asleep. That's how government works in Illinois, and I'm intending to change that with this bill that I'm filing this week.
All right, Stoller, thank you so much for joining us live this morning. We appreciate your time.
Thank you, Matt. Good to be here.
Thank you. This whole interview can be found on our website, ciproud.com.